Good morning, Kurek. Good morning, everyone. We're back with hashtag Keep the Flame Alive. I do apologize. We haven't done one for ages. Coming out of lockdown, we've been busy, but I want to keep this series going. So I have with me today a very good friend, Kurek Ashley. Kurek, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Joe Sensei.
And we're going to call this segment From Hollywood to Palmwoods, because Kurek lives around Palmwoods, which is on the Sunshine Coast, and he used to be from Hollywood. Kurek, why Hollywood to Palmwoods?
Well, Sensei, I started acting when I was 12 years old. I lied about my age and got on stage at Second City Theater in Chicago with Jim Belushi, George Wendt from Cheers, Tim Kazurinsky, and spent almost 5 years there. And then when I was 18 years old, I left for Hollywood to work in the movie industry and wound up doing 38 films and worked on over 500 behind the camera as a key and dolly grip. And, you know, it's a job like anything else. You do long hours. And then just one day I realized that it's kind of, I want to leave it when I still love it, but it was starting to have that tipping point. I was already doing speaking engagements and coaching anyways, but it was more my sideline in those days. And then one day I just asked myself, why'd you ever want to become an actor? And the truth was that I thought if I got famous, somebody would want to hear me speak and teach about how do you achieve your goals and your dreams and produce results like that. And so that's when I stopped doing the roundabout way to get there, instead just the direct line. And I let go of the movie industry. And I was working with Anthony Robbins for 5 years and teaching at his seminars. And somebody asked me to come out and save their business in Australia. And I did. And they left me here stranded, never paid me for a year. And I was homeless now in 2 countries where I couldn't even fly home to be homeless, and wound up settling here in Queensland and then eventually up to the Sunshine Coast.
So, Kurek, I always thought you went from acting and from Hollywood just into motivational speaking and stuff like that. I didn't know that was always your intention.
Yeah, I've been doing it since high school, actually. It's funny, I went to one of my reunions for high school, and when I told them I left Hollywood, I thought people would be surprised because that's all I really ever talked about, I thought, in high school. And they said, man, this is what you always did. You know, you always did little like workshops in the hallways with other classmates and stuff, talking about getting your goals and things you have to do. And so this is actually more of a perfect fit for you than Hollywood, you know?
So where's the qualification come from to do it, running those workshops? And, you know, is that handwritten qualifications you have signed by Kurek Ashley? Or?
Yeah, well, life teaches you. One of my, skill sets that I have, Sensei, is that I study life. I study successful people. I study unsuccessful people. I've always wondered about the difference between the two. What makes the difference? You see that it's a formula that, successful people are doing a certain formula, unsuccessful people are doing a different formula. And that if you want to change groups, all you got to do is kind of change the formula that you're using. And I think when I read in 1980, a movie director who turns out to be Sylvester Stallone's best friend and became my Mr. Miyagi, he forced me to read Think and Grow Rich in 1980. And when I read Napoleon Hill's book, I really saw that it was a specific tactical formula. And I realized some of the things that I was doing that was helping me get results that I was doing. And then I saw some other stuff that was just kind of fluff and it wasn't helping. And then I became more and more of a study on what are the specifics that work for everybody, not just some people, certainly not lucky people, but it's really based in the laws of physics. And one of those laws is cause and effect. And so that's just been my passion.
I'm going to cut you short there, right? What's your definition of success?
My definition of success is spending time with my son. I have a 9-year-old, and we live on a farm, and staying healthy and fit, making the money.
That's Kurek's idea of success. Your definition of success when you're helping someone in business.
Well, that I don't Sensei, I don't tell people what they should do. Is my question is always, what is it that you want, and then what what do you want to do about it? So,
but you said there's a formula based on physics. I'm
yes,
just quoting you, probably wrongly, but
sure.
that there's a formula of what people who are successful do and people
Yep.
who are not successful do. How do you judge what's successful, and how does physics play a part in it?
Oh, okay. Well, the success would be anything that you want to achieve, would be a success. So some people it's health and fitness, some people it's a relationship, some people it's money or business, some people it's all of it. It just depends. So the formula for failing is actually quite easy, which is don't use the formula for success. The formula for success is very clear. Number one is you have to reinvent yourself. You can't be who you are today and expect different results. You're going to have to make some adjustments to yourself, which also means you're going to have to let go of some things to take on board new stuff. Also, is that the number one key distinction between holistically successful people and average people is that we learn how to manage how we think and feel differently than average people do, and also how we used to ourselves, because we all go through the same stuff. I mean, everybody's gone through the COVID drama and through the GFC and heartbreak and people ripping you off in life or business and people being dishonest. We all go through stuff, family issues, but successful people, we learn how to manage it differently. And, that's one of the reasons I love Aikido, is because it teaches me that a lot about life, is to not take conflict head on, is to manage it differently. The other part of the formula then was, be as successful people, we set grand dream goals. We don't set small piddly goals. We set goals that are going to force us into growth, to stretch us, to become better at what we do in life and better people. Then we take immediate and consistent action. We test and measure. We are active in contribution, because if you want value in your life, you have to add value to life. And then, networking, because if you're not networking, you're not working. And then the last part of the formula is follow through. The fortune's always in the follow through.
So Kurek, I'm going to quote George Carlin here, okay?
Sure.
One second, I don't want to misquote him. And this is describing me. Inside every cynical person is a disappointed idealist. So in listening to you now, I'm hearing, and this could be me, not what you're saying, but what I'm hearing is money, success, money, and big business money. That's what I'm hearing. Correct me. I know that's not what you mean, but that's what I'm hearing.
Oh, well, first, Sensei, if you're talking about business, the word business means to make money. So it's not a dirty word. That's what business means. If you're not making money with your business, it's called a hobby. So that's business. And if you're clear on that, that's what your business is. But the truth is, we become entrepreneurs not to make the money. It's to create a lifestyle. If we could have the lifestyle without the money, then have the lifestyle. I would also suggest that you start having the lifestyle now, because one day never actually shows up in a calendar. There's never a day that's called one day. So it's today. So I want to live, as I said, is my definition of success is a lifestyle that I want to live. And that's time with my son. I mean, I've spent more time with my 9-year-old than I spent with my dad my entire life, who's been gone for 15 plus years, and so I value that. And I'm a late bloomer. It took me 50 years to get ready to have kids. So it's, but success for me is a holistic thing. It's about, yes, it is about having the wealth, because money's not the root of all evil. Poverty is, gangs and terrorism is all based in poverty. People who are suffering and in pain, they're lashing out. But also the health and fitness, because what's the point of being rich if you're sick? Or what's the point of being wealthy if you're lonely? So it's really about having a holistically successful life. But money by itself won't buy you happiness, but poverty will definitely buy you pain.
All right, cool. Well, Denzel Washington said, money can't buy you happiness, but makes one hell of a down payment.
Yeah, you know, and I spent a lot of my life. Well, I lived in my car in Los Angeles for over a year at a time. I tell a story in my book about when I was doing my first speaking role in a movie, which was called Two of a Kind with John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John, and Travolta and I became great friends on the show. And he said, "Hey, I'd love to take you out to dinner on Saturday." And I said, "All right, we're what restaurant?" And he goes, "No, I'll pick you up." And I said, "Nah, I don't think that's a good idea, man." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Look, John, I live in the Hotel Cadillac, and I'd rather just meet you at the restaurant." He goes, "Hotel Cadillac? Where's that?" And I told him. He said, "That's a residential neighborhood. There's no hotels there." And I said, "Oh, you'll see it." Anyways, next day, stretch limousine comes around the corner. I'm standing there, and he goes, "Well, where's this hotel you live in?" I said, "I'm leaning on it. It's a 1972 Coupe de Ville Cadillac. It's broken down. It's not even a mobile home anymore." And he goes, "You're not homeless." And I go, "I actually am, John." And so I said, "Would you like a tour?" So he sat in my back seat and he saw my blankets and my pillow. I said, "It's my bedroom." And he cried. And I said, "Hey, dude, don't get emotional. Tour is not over yet." So I walked him to the front seat and he said, "Okay, what room's this?" And I said, "This is my entertainment center. See, there's a radio in the dashboard. You got the windscreen, big screen TV, all kinds of crazy stuff happens out there." I walked him around to the boot, go, "Hey, that's my wardrobe. You probably don't want to see the bathroom." So, and he said, "But you got such a great attitude, man. You're in shape and, you're fit and all that stuff." I said, "John, I'm grateful. I could live next to my car. That would suck. Dogs pee on you in the morning, at least I got a Cadillac and I can stretch out." And he offered me a place to stay. And I said, "That ain't going to happen, John. See, because the problem is one day I'll stay my welcome. And all I've done was getting weaker. I didn't learn how to get myself out of this situation. So thank you very much. And I will find my way out." And obviously I have.
It's an amazing story. And let's go back to your Hollywood days. You've worked with a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
And I do want you to name drop. So, but it's not just name dropping. People want to hear this. And you've met and rubbed shoulders with people we just see on the screen. What are the different people like in real life? Stallone, Schwarzenegger.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Well, Travolta is one of the nicest, warmest, genuine guys you ever meet. Him and I brought my mom. I was doing my second movie with John called Perfect with Jamie Lee Curtis, and I flew my mom out. And when John met my mom, she was sitting in a chair and he walked over to her and he didn't even know she was coming, I was flying her out. And he walked up to her and he said, "Are you Kurek's mom?" And she looked up, not knowing who it was, and then freaked out. And he goes, she goes, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Well, then you're my mom. Stand up and give me a kiss." And he just spoiled her. And for years, wrote her regularly and sent her photos. And my mom would say, "Hey, John wrote me a letter." And I called John. I said, "Hey, John, did you write my mom?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Why don't you tell me?" And he goes, "Because it's none of your business. I have my own relationship with your mom, I'm like, oh, cool, man. I just think it's weird, but great. Stallone is, I've known Sly since I was 18 years old. He's a hard worker, man. He's very intelligent. He's got a great sense of humor. He's 76 right now, and he's still buffed. He's got rocked arms and still doing movies. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the most alarmingly present human being I think I've ever met, Sensei. I mean,
what do you mean by that?
Well, I had lunch with him and Sly in Beverly Hills, and he sits there and he just like almost stares at you, and he's asking you questions. He wants to know about you. He's not there to talk about himself. And grabbed my head and gave me some noogies, and just the nicest guy. And then I was on stage with him in Sydney, and just a really genuine guy. And one of the pearls of wisdom that he gave me, he said, "Kurek, everybody thinks I'm a self-made man." And he said, "There's nothing farther from the truth. I've had help all the way along the way." He said, "Only weak people don't ask for help because they never get it." And, I've been very fortunate. Next week, I'm going backstage with Tina Arena because I did a video with her at Paramount Studios in Hollywood for her song Show Me Heaven back in the, I think, 80s, maybe early 90s.
Oh, you've lived a full life. Now, before we came on air, I asked you about George Carlin, and you said you'd also worked with lots of comedians.
Well, I did. I used to work at a place on Sunset Boulevard called the Comedy Store, and I used to also do stand-up there. And so I sold out one of the rooms by myself, and I looked out in the audience, and there was Richard Pryor and Robin Williams sitting in my audience because they were going on downstairs, and they heard all the laughter up from the room I was in. And I went downstairs after my performance and met both of them, Jim Carrey, Louis Anderson, Sam Kinison, some of the really top comics. Uniquely, though, Sensei, is comics are like the darkest, angriest human beings on the planet. You know, usually comedy comes out of tragedy. I've worked with Michael Richards twice, who plays Kramer on Seinfeld. One of the darkest guys ever. He's not funny. He's angry. He's bitter. I've worked with the guy from Dumb and Dumber, Jeff Daniels, and dark and angry, you know, not funny at all. So I worked with Chris Farley, who I was a huge fan of, and Chris was awesome, I have to say. He died 98 from a drug overdose, but I did the movie Airheads with him, and what a wonderful guy, and made me laugh. We worked for 2 weeks together all night long, and laughed every day.
Like, okay, fast forward. You've gone from Hollywood to Palmwoods, and why Aikido? Why?
Well, funny thing, Sensei, I did Aikido when I was like 11 years old, and talking about in the 70s. And because there was no high kicks and Bruce Lee stuff in it, I kind of got bored of it quite quickly. But the teachings of Morihei Ueshiba and some of his philosophies have always stuck with me. And then I did Aikido in LA for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. But it was very, I would say, very surface stuff. I don't really feel like, especially now with working with you and Sensei David, I don't know if I really feel like they knew all that much, but it was there. I was in Japan with when I was managing a rock band. They were Ricky Nelson's twin sons, Gunnar and Matthew. And we were in Japan for the first leg of the tour. And I just was so fed up with the music industry. And I was walking down the street early in the morning, and a man was walking by with his son, and his son literally spit on my shoes, and his dad patted him on the back, calling me some effing American or whatever, And so leaving Japan, but we had to come back like 2 more times on this tour. I was not in a good mood, and Gunnar, one of the 2 band members, one of the twin brothers, said, "Hey man, you're the manager, you're already pissed off on the first leg of the tour." And I said, "I came to Japan in search of the samurai, that samurai spirit that I've always been so fascinated with." And right as we were saying that, there's a bookstore with this corner window, and there's one book in the shelf, and it's the Art of Aikido by Morihei Ueshiba. And I went and looked at it, and Gunnar's sitting there, and there's pictures of Morihei Ueshiba taking guys off their feet, like he's 70 something years old, and he's just dropping guys. And I went to buy it, and Gunnar grabbed it from me and then bought it and signed it to me. And he said, "Hey, Kurek-san, maybe this is the sensei this is a samurai you came in search of for." And it changed my whole world, and so I've been looking for an old school dojo where they, it's strict and got the honor and the discipline and the rest of those things, and somebody really knows their game. And luckily I found Sensei David in Palmwoods. I'm in awe that he's here, and through him I got the honor of meeting you and doing workshops with you and training with you as well.
And let's not mention the finger.
And you broke my finger, yeah?
I said don't mention the finger.
Oh, don't mention the finger. Oh, sorry. Well, you can't don't do. You can only do. So, well, that was an accident, Sensei. And hey, if I'm gonna get my finger broken,
we met? Was that the first time we met?
that was the very first seminar we met. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have no recollection. I think it was someone who looked like me who did it. Wasn't me.
No, but also, Sensei, I will say that, you know, in that very first, I was only a white belt. I was probably like a fifth Q or something, you know, and you would call me out to be your uke for demonstration so many times that by lunchtime, people said to me, you know, if Sensei asked you out on the mat, it's a real honor. And I said, yeah, I'm thrilled and honored. And he said, but what did you do, man? He's kicking the daylights out of you. Like, did you piss him off? And I said, no, I think that Sensei and we just connect on a level, and he trusts me, and you know, he knows he can throw me around. I'm okay with it. I mean, that's what I'm here for, you know, so I'm honored.
If you want to do your stuff, you need an uke who trusts you, and you look after the uke, and you don't have to be so guarded. Someone who'll accept the technique and not be afraid. And that's what I felt in you the first time I met you. You know, yeah. And plus,
and I'm honored, Sensei. And
there you go.
I remember once she came up to me and said, hey, I want to slam your head into the wall. And I said, okay. And you go, you know what I'm talking about, right? Which meant you wanted me to use my stunt quality, you know, my stunt skills, and not really hurt myself, but, you know, make it look like my head got slammed in the wall. And I said, great. And then when you demonstrated it, the looks of the people in the dojo were like, okay, that was a little big, but you know, I didn't even make impact with the wall. It just looked like it did.
Yeah, and you know, it's about selling that message without hurting someone. It's not selling, but sending that message through without hurting someone. So anyway, Kurek, you said you read about O Sensei's philosophies and stuff like that, and you were enamored by them, right? Now, let's not piss David Sensei off after the last interview. Do you remember what he said?
What's that?
David Sensei, what he said about O Sensei's thoughts. Oh, no, it wasn't O Sensei.
Well, I think he was talking more about the religion that O Sensei got into, that, you know, yes, I can see how that diluted some of the warrior part of Aikido. I mean, but also it could be the time. I mean, it was the end of World War II and the rest of those things. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Sensei Dave would be much more educated on it than I am. I just, you know, the philosophies of Aikido.
He was just intoxicated, that's all.
What's that?
He was just intoxicated that night.
Wow.
Let me just stop you there a second.
It still was a great interview.
So, I want to throw something at you, okay? So, let's say we believe in O Sensei's teachings, but we don't want to go down the path of the Omotokyo religion, which was a big part of his life. So, is it okay that I take what I want from someone and leave the rest? Is it okay if you're my motivational guru? You know, I know you don't like that word, and I say I'm going to be selective. Can that work?
Oh, it's actually a strategy I teach, Sensei, is that, you know, you got to separate the teacher from the teachings. Is, you know, get from the people the stuff that you want for yourself and leave the rest alone. I mean, like, I met Kerry Packer years ago. Wasn't really a big fan of him. He was quite rude, you know, and especially to his friends around him. And I didn't even know who he was until somebody said, hey, that's the richest man in Australia. And I go, well, it doesn't look very healthy. And, you know, but if you want to learn how to make money, I mean, Kerry Packer is the guy you would have learned from. But if you want to learn health and fitness, well, that's not the guy. But what happens is people, they go, well, I don't like the way he does this, so I'm not going to learn that from him. Okay, but now you're just limiting yourself. Take the parts of, you know, the skills and strategies of the person that has the results in that one specific area and just leave the rest alone. I mean, I have people that I've been through their programs before where I don't even like them as people, but they might be good in marketing as an example, right? Well, I'm just there to learn the marketing. I don't really care what they do in their personal life.
So this is me going to my first motivational seminar or talk or whatever, right? How do I know what to keep and what to throw out? What to take on, what to
well, first, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a success coach, but
my apologies there.
no, it's okay. I don't teach motivation. It's fluffy. You get all pumped up and then you go home and nothing happens. Well, the thing, Sensei, is, I mean, I would just take look at the results that you want to produce and then go to somebody who has those results and, study those results. Don't listen to the rest of the stuff. And I don't have to listen to their philosophy and I don't have to like them or whatever. But, I go to people, like there's a lot of people, like I was in New York speaking at the publicity summit there, and a woman came up to me. She said, "Hey, I'm a wealth coach." I said, "Oh, good for you." And she said, do you think that it's, something wrong with me teaching it even though I'm bankrupt? I go, yes, I do, actually. I said, if your strategies work so well, why aren't you wealthy? And she goes, well, I'm not going to make wealth from the strategies I'm teaching. I'm going to make wealth from people paying to come to my programs. And I go, well, that's called fraud, because you're not even doing it yourself. So, Sensei is, to learn Aikido from you, especially since you and I are the same amount of rotations around the sun, and the way that you apply yourself and the honor that you have, I'd learn Aikido from you any day of the week. And that's why I've always been open to learning from you and Sensei David, is because you guys walk your talk on that level. Sensei David, how he conducts himself in business and in life, and, because we become friends outside the dojo. It's a holistic thing for me, and I'd learn all levels from you guys. But then he's asked me to be on the board of Compass, his company, because of my entrepreneurial skills. So I think that you take the parts that you want from a person and leave the rest be, and it's okay for them to be them. Okay, so now just you said this woman was a fraud. If she's teaching in that area, yeah,
wealth, how to accumulate wealth, and she's a bankrupt, right? How do you spot a charlatan? I know you're not a motivational speaker, but how do you spot a charlatan when it comes to people giving lifestyle advice, teachings, etc.? How do you spot a charlatan in martial arts? Because at the end of the day, martial arts, Aikido especially, is also a lifestyle. It is. And there's probably, Jean-Claude Van Damme has never fought a day in his life. He's a dancer. Matter of fact, I was at Stallone's house when I was back in the 80s, where there was a guy hiding out in Sly's bushes, and Sly had the bodyguards drag him into the compound and slap him around. He cried like a little girl. That was Jean-Claude Van Damme. He just I just want to get work, and I'm a big fan of yours. And Sly just got irritated with the guy stalking him. So I asked Sly last time I had lunch with him, I said, hey, you ever bring that up to Jean-Claude when you work with him? And he goes, all the time. There's a lot of phony balonies out there, Sensei, but I think that if you just open yourself up to not listening to the story, and you just kind of pay attention, you feel the difference. I mean, we all know it. I mean, there's people who, they say the right stuff, but you still feel it. And then also is because we have a little thing called the internet these days, it's real easy to do some homework long before you get in there. And I always do my homework with people to find out who they really are. So no, I got to take you to task on that, because if that were the truth, if we listened to someone and we knew the truth from the chat, there wouldn't be any charlatans around. And you and I know there's a lot. Oh yeah. So how do you spot them? Because and people believe everything, and if you go onto the internet and you look at stuff, they'll say, no, it's fake news. So it becomes a leap of faith. It's almost like a religion now. Well, but Sensei, what I do is I go pages deep, on Google, because if people are pissed off, they'll tell you. It's definitely on the internet these days. For the first time, I think in history, people have a place to voice,
And so when they're really upset, you know, like reviews and the rest of those things. But like I said, is I think it, one of the things for me is I become the observer, and I just pay attention and watch people, how they act and how they act around people. And then, yes, I may give people the benefit of the doubt, but then you'll start to see the incongruency show up quite quickly. I also, in business, you know, because we've all been ripped off in business before, is one of my little things is I give people little agreements. And if they can't keep the little agreements, well, there's no way they're going to keep the big agreements. So you know, if we have a meeting and they don't show up on time, well, wait a minute, if you can't keep the agreement of time, well, how are you going to keep the agreement of living up to a contract?
Okay. So you just gave us two great tools there. One, observe, right? Do your homework and observe. And the other one is make little agreements and see if they stick to that.
That's right.
Anything else? And any other things? Because we all, you know, for me, if someone cannot keep a commitment in time and doesn't have the courtesy to call me, that means they don't respect my time.
That's correct.
They have no respect for me.
Correct.
But you know, I'm a Nazi about that sort of thing. So I really hate waiting on people. I hate people waiting on me. So
I'm the same way, Sensei. I'm always early.
But is that too far down? You know, it pisses me off straight off. No doubt about it.
With you.
I've gone to doctor's appointments and had to wait. And then I've said to the receptionist, who do I invoice for my time?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. You know, and my time may not be as valuable as theirs, but it's important to me. So what other strategies can we have in place, you know, to spot the charlatans, the wankers?
Well, you know, Sensei, one of my things is I always ask people questions that they can't be rehearsed on to answer. So, like, as an example, is if somebody was interviewing to work with me in the business, you know, as hiring them for a position, I ask them about, well, tell me a time, you know, in your last job when you guys had a project and it didn't work out, right? Nobody rehearses that one. Now, if they're going to say is, oh yeah, that was the team's fault, I was the hero and I fixed it, well, you can see that's not a great leader, right? So, you know, ask them questions that they're not prepared to answer. Also is get them in an environment where you get to see them in real life. So as an example, if you go out, you know, you're talking about somebody you're going to do some business with, and you go to a restaurant and they're married and they're hitting on the waitress. Well, wait a minute, if they're going to cheat on their wife, why would you think they're not going to cheat on you in business? So I'm looking for the behaviors that they're not, you know, focused on guarding against, right? And you'll see stuff, you know, you'll see signs if you're looking for it. I just don't get wowed by all the smoke and mirrors that people want to, you know, show you and how much money they make and whatever. And if people approach me with things like that, instantly I'm shut off, where they go, oh, you can make a lot of money here, when they don't have any idea that, to me, that's not important. The reason I make money is because I don't focus on it.
I did a bit of homework, went onto the internet, and man, you've got lots of quotes out there, lots. What would be your two favorite quotes?
Well, my two favorite, you mean talking about my Kurekisms, you know, my quotes.
Kurekisms, I like that. Yeah,
the first one is that you always get what you ask for in life, and it rarely comes in the package that you thought it was supposed to show up with. And the other one, I guess, would be is
hold on. Elaborate on that.
Okay.
Give us an example of what you mean. And we're not talking about ex-wives, okay?
Which ex-wife? I'm stacking them up, Sensei Joe. Well, you know, in 1989, I was doing a movie with Chuck Norris called Delta Force 2. And while filming the movie, I was involved in a helicopter crash. 5 of my friends died. My best friend, Mike Graham, he was 29 years old, died in my arms on the way to the hospital. It was at one point the darkest moment of my life, you know, and for 2.5 years, I had drugs up my nose and cigarettes and booze, and I was just trying to kill myself. I wasn't actually partying. Thank God I'm not a success at everything in life. And you know, the life I have today, Sensei, is a byproduct of me having to work on myself in those dark times, to become who I've become, but also to teach what I teach. So I'm not like a book taught guy, you know. I've learned through life experience. And the life that I have now is the life I always dreamed of. And I can look at that helicopter crash and see it as that pivotal moment that changed my direction and how I was participating in life. So I've gotten everything that I've asked for in life, but a helicopter crash is not how I thought it was supposed to show up in. You know, I have a wonderful partner in my life named Julie. By the way, she lives in Melbourne. And, you know, that's a byproduct of last year, my wife walking out of the marriage when we had a perfectly wonderful marriage and the rest of those things. I mean, obviously she had a different vision of it that I didn't know about, considering the day before she left, she was telling me how wonderful the marriage is and I'm the man of her dreams. But, you know, people have their right to make choices for themselves, and she made hers. But because of that, I found somebody better in my life, somebody who appreciates me. So as you see, you know, it is what it is. But if we're going to hang on to the old stuff, it creates gravity and drags us down. That's why Buddha talked about detachment, and Jesus said, let go and let God. You know, you got to let go of it. Otherwise, you won't find a transformation in it.
And another quote?
The second one? Yeah, the second one is well, in order, again, it relates to what I just said, and that is, in order to fly, you have to let go of the world that you're hanging on to. It's, you know, if you're a big, beautiful eagle with a 10-foot wingspan, but your talons are hanging on to the top of Mount Everest, you can flap all you want, but you're not flying. But if you really want to fly, you got to let go of that world. And then you get to soar and you get to see the magic of life. So, you know, I've had a very colorful life. I've also had a very challenging life. I believe the Creator keeps putting me through this just so I have better seminar stories and better content. But as a spirit, you know, we came into the form as a human to experience all of life, not just the fluffy, happy bits. And, you know, that's why we go to movies that scare us and make us laugh and make us cry, you know, because we want to feel those things. It's just that when we're in the middle of it, sometimes we forget that it's just an experience. You know, at least I've had 3 marriages and 3 beautiful women in my life. To have those marriages end when there's people in wheelchairs who won't even get a date. So I have nothing to feel sorry for or bad about. But yet, if it doesn't last a lifetime, like till death do us part, a lot of people feel like it failed. To me, it just met its expiration date. And everything in life has an expiration date, including us ourselves. So on to the next thing.
Oh, there's many layers to Kurek Ashley, and you're a pretty serious guy when you want to be. You're pretty funny and flippant when you want to be. You know, and that's what I like about you. There's lots of facets, right? Let me quote George Carlin again. People who see life as anything more than pure entertainment are missing the point. You don't have to agree, but what do you think about that?
Then you got a lawnmower going by. Oops. Guy's 4-wheel driving it. What's that, Sensei, again, Sensei?
Thanks for paying attention. People who see life as anything more than pure entertainment are missing the point.
Yeah, well, I agree with that 100%. Since it's, I mean, you know, the purpose of life is to enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, well, what's the point? Like, what are you doing here? Like, what are you working for? What are you making money for? And what are you in a relationship for if you're not enjoying it? So that's the purpose of our life. You know, when people say, I want to feed and save the world and all this stuff, well, that may be your mission, but the purpose is to enjoy it. And whatever we're filled with, we're going to spread to everybody around us. So when you're looking at life as an entertainment and you're enjoying it, well, imagine the goodness that you spread. But if you're filled with misery and scarcity and pain, well, that's what we spread. So, you know, the higher purpose is to enjoy your life, because then you'll spread that joy to everybody around you.
this is again the skeptic in me, okay? And I look at a lot of, I know you're not a motivational speaker, but I look at a lot of motivational people out there. And I read this quote and it said, I went to a bookstore and asked the saleswoman, where's the self-help section? She said, if she told me, it would defeat the purpose.
If she saw you what?
If she told me, it would defeat the purpose. So, you get what I mean, right? Like, there's books on self-help and, how to motivate yourself and stuff. It's like, does that make sense?
Yes. Well, again, Sensei, I think you need to take out of whatever it is for yourself. One of my best self-help books that I read are biographies and autobiographies, because I want to see the whole story. I want to see the trials and tribulations. I want to see the pain they've gone through and the hardship and the rest of those things, not just people barking strategies at me. With my book, the last chapter is called "The Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Publisher," because I got hit with another catastrophe in my life as I was finishing the book. And I thought, you know what? I got to tell the truth to people so they see that I'm a real guy. Stuff really happens. Now, what do you do with it? And people read that last chapter and they go, man, it's the first time I've ever seen an author tell the truth that crap still hits the fan, and then look, and using his own strategies in his book to turn it around. So, I think self-help, I think most people who write a self-help book should read their own book and do something about it.
But, look, I read a book once, found it overrated. It was called The Greatest Story Ever Written. And it's full of bullshit. Talking about someone defeating a whole army with a donkey's jawbone or something, and crap like that. The whole book's filled with it, and people have gone to war over it.
Yeah, I get it.
Isn't what's written, isn't that just someone's perception of the truth?
Well, yes. I mean, and again, the Bible, and I don't want a million phone calls from people all pissed off that I'm being blasphemous.
We get hate mail. Talk about
no, it's okay.
Martial arts books.
But again, you got to remember, Sensei, in those times, information was passed on through stories so that it would be remembered. And so, do I really think that Jonah lived in the mouth of a whale? Well, if you ever saw the mouth of a whale, that wouldn't even make any sense. And then what? The whale doesn't dive; it doesn't go underwater. I mean, what do you do in the mouth of a whale? So I think it was taught in metaphors and stories, just like the American Indians passed on, stories. But again, is you have to take what I got out of reading the Bible was that, well, in 2,000 years, not much has changed. There's some people who got it in the world. There's some people who are spiritual and some people who are good to others. And then there's a majority of people who are suffering and allowing themselves to suffer and don't do anything about it. And they want to be victims. Jesus himself in the end of the Bible is actually pissed off when he's walking through a village with a shopkeeper who he's going to stay with. And when the shopkeeper asks him about it later, he says, Messiah, why are you so upset? He goes, because I taught them how to do it and they refused to do it for themselves. Right? So self-help, great. I know people who've read a lot of books and done nothing with it. When I worked with Anthony Robbins, you'd see people come to every one of his programs, but their life still sucks. Well, why don't you go to one program and actually do something with it before you come to the next program? I mean, that's, so that's why I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a success coach. And, as I always say to Sensei is that whether you do or not what I'm teaching, I'm still going to have a great life because I refuse to sacrifice my happiness for people who aren't going to go for it.
Okay. Now, we're getting close to the end of the interview. What would love say? That's a strange title for a book.
How would love respond?
How would love respond?
Yeah, just happen to have a copy right here.
There you go. How would love respond? Yeah. Why? Can you explain the title? And you can plug.
Sure. Well, I'm not here to sell anything, but I was doing a coaching, and I was just breaking down some strategies, and I was talking about that I am is the most powerful two words in the English language, because what comes after that is known as your identity. It's who you say you are, and it's how you expect to show up in life. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Like, you know, what people will do for real love, like the love of your kids or love of your family, love of your cause, love of your country, you know. That Mary Magdalene, her scriptures that she wrote that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, well, when she refers to Jesus, she doesn't refer to him as the Messiah. She refers to him as the love. And the Bible says, if you do not know love, you do not know God, because God is love. So again, the most powerful force in the universe. And so I said, well, if you identified yourself as love, how would you respond differently to everything? Like, would you allow yourself to be poor? Would you allow yourself to stick drugs in your arms or, you know, up your nose? Would you smoke cigarettes? Would you be obese and unhealthy? Love doesn't respond that way. Love would want you to have everything you want in life. And love would also want everybody else to have everything they want in life, but not at the sacrifice of yourself. And as soon as I said that, I go, I got to write the book. And so really the title wrote the whole book for me.
All right. Now, what would you say? How do I cure my skepticism?
How would I what?
How would you cure my skepticism?
Your step?
Skepticism. How
Skepticism.
Bring a skeptic.
Well,
because I agree with what you said, but the premise with the Mary Magdalene and the Dead Sea Scrolls, that lost me.
Okay.
Because apparently they're still deciphering the Dead Sea Scrolls, and some say it's bullshit. Some say bits of it are missing. Some say it hasn't been released. You know, the skeptic in me says, you know, I agree with one part, but the premise is.
Well, okay, but you could, even if you edited out from what I said, the Mary Magdalene stuff, the Bible still says, if you do not know love, you do not know God, because God is love. As a man thinketh in his heart of hearts, so is he, which means how you think you are, or your identity is who you are. I am still creates your identity. Love, if you study human beings, love is the most powerful driving force to get people to do amazing feats. You know, there's diggers who, you know, took machine gun rounds to the chest and were basically dead on their feet, but still dropped a hand grenade in the enemy's bunker and saved their platoon, you know. So love is
this the same God of love, or who let 6 million Jews and 20 million people die during the Second World War? Is the same love that sat by while, you know, the Rohingyas were being butchered in Myanmar?
Well, wait a minute. Sensei, God also gave us 2 arms and 2 legs, and maybe you want to use them instead of just willingly walking to the camp.
Oh,
there was a group called the Zionists.
Legs to swing machetes, yes.
No, it's okay, but there was a Zionist who actually put a hurting on in the Warsaw Ghetto, who put a hurting on the Germans. They were finally annihilated, but man, were they definitely taking some toll on the Nazis. My point being is that I'm not, again, blaming or taking sides, is that you know, Viktor Frankl, you know, he was sweeping up or raking or something around a truckload of dead Jewish people who were naked in a dump truck. When nobody was looking, he stripped off his clothes. He got in the pile of naked bodies, stayed there all day until they went to a pit and dumped them in there. Stayed there until nighttime, covered by rotting, naked dead people. Climbed out and walked 50 miles naked to freedom, you know, and wrote the book "Man's Search for Meaning." You know, it depends on how you playing the game, but you know, I don't think. If you and I were,
you look at that one person. I'm looking at all those naked dead bodies.
I get it. Somehow, Sensei, if you and I were in a situation like Nazi Germany, I don't think you and I would go easily. You know, we'd take out as many people as we possibly could or find our way out of there. But I don't just see us march into the camp like victims. But
I don't know. I'm never in that situation. I don't know. But so is that God looking after the lions and not the lambs?
No, what I'm saying, Sensei, is just like what in the Bible itself is that there's certain people. Now, you may still die trying, but there's people who literally take action to change the course of what's happening, and then there's other people who just kind of act as victims in life. And I think it comes down, I mean, during the helicopter crash, when most people were running away because they're on fire, I was climbing in to pull people out.
Maybe then, the church should look at its own self-help book, the Bible. Isn't the church and God meant to protect the weak and the innocent and the poor and the malnourished?
What I'm going to say next, since it's probably not going to resonate very well with a bunch of people, but to me, religion has always been the oppression of spirituality. Because as soon as you say I'm one, like I'm Christian or I'm Muslim or I'm Jew, well, then you're isolating yourself and segregating yourself from the oneness. Universe, the one song of love that we all sing. Universe. It's the oneness. It's as soon as we but more people have died in the name of God, not for what God teaches. By the way, when I was in Kuwait doing speed engagements, people said my content came right out of the Quran. Now, I've never read the Quran, but it turns out that the Quran pretty much teaches the same thing the Bible does. It's just the only difference is the name that we call God by. But if you actually study it, the sound of God is ah. Matter of fact, it's the sound you make during procreation. Maybe if you're lucky, you get some old gods thrown in there. But God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Tao, Ra, Tikkun Waka, it's the sound of creation. It's the sound of God. You got to remember, the name is only part of the language because we have different languages.
It's also the sound of pain.
What's that?
Also the sound of pain.
Well, but
that's the sound you made when I broke your finger. Oops, I didn't do that. My friend did it. Yeah.
Hey, I took it as an honor. Man, if I can get my finger broken by Sensei Joe.
Well, I'm just having fun with you, but I'm a skeptic at heart, and the older I get, the more skeptical I'm becoming.
Do you want to change?
No.
Well, then there is no changing
it. Yeah. I'm quite happy being a skeptic because I see so much bullshit around me.
Well, there is, Sensei, and there's also more wonderful people around than ever before, and more spiritual people, and more people doing yoga, and more people doing meditation, and
That's why I'm talking to you. That's why I'm talking to you.
Well, I just think it's whatever you focus on is what expands. And so for me, I've seen, stuff in Chicago growing up that nobody should ever see. I've watched a guy get his head split open with a socket wrench, or two guys just jumped out of a car and grabbed him and for no reason. I've seen people get killed in Los Angeles and the rest of those things. I've seen dark stuff, but if I focus on that, all it's going to do is take me down, and then everybody I interact with, they're going to feel that. Instead, I look for the goodness in people, and it does. By the way, though, I live that saying in Aikido, which is it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Is that I am trained, I have no problem taking somebody's life if it came time to protect my family or my friends. But I live in a place that's peaceful. I've been in Australia 23 years. I haven't been shot at once because I've chosen somewhere that the chances of darkness happening are less. Doesn't mean it can't happen, and then Sunshine Coast and the rest of these things. But I travel the world for work and business. That I am prepared if it has to. And if it came time to saving my son, if I had to take somebody out a window and fall to my death, taking the other person with me, I got no problem. Matter of fact, Sensei David, when he was teaching one of his seminars, said, you got to know your bottom line. You got to know, can you take somebody's life? Can you gouge their eyes out? And then he looked over at me and he goes, somehow, Kurek, I believe you've already worked this one out. And I go, yes, sir, I have. I got no problem, Sensei. But I live in peace, and I want to focus on peace and happiness, so that you have the best possibility of living that life. But that doesn't mean I don't understand that darkness exists, because the law of polarity, which is the law of physics, says that both have to exist in order for it to exist. You got to have both sides of the coin, So which one are you paying attention to?
Okay. So correct. We're going to wind it up now. Any this is a difficult question. I'm trying to frame it. You know, O Sensei talked about love and oneness of the universe, etc., right? What do you think is missing in Aikido today?
You know, Sensei, watching the interview with you and Kancho David and
I have no recollection of that interview.
no, I do. It's something that you guys really all got very strong on, and it's, you know, when people show up in the dojo, and it's not just, it's, I think it's all Budo, you know, I think it's life itself. People show up like it's a hobby, you know, like it's a sport or whatever, instead of coming in and understanding that, you know, the way that you participate, the way that you practice is the way you participate in life. And, you know, when people learn Budo and Aikido and Samurai and all that stuff, and you're, well, it's because, man, somebody coming at you with a sharp blade, you definitely paid attention in your class. And I know when you guys trained under Sensei Shioda and, you know, Sensei Chiba and all that stuff, that you guys, you know, there was a strictness to it, but that's why you guys are who you are, because you played the game at that level. And that's where I come in the door is when I hit the mat, I get thrown pretty hard and I get up smiling and people go, man, you're actually freaky, man. You're dangerous, you know? Because you may beat me physically, but you're not going to beat me mentally. And, you know, so to come in, and I think that attitude of, man, I'm here to work on myself and I'm here to get it. I might look, Sensei, I'll never be you in Aikido. First, I can't even bounce around on my knees like you. But just the totality of who you are, and Sensei David. But man, what great inspirations to aim for and to hold myself to a higher standard. And I think that's one of the ways that you and I have always connected, and certainly Sensei David, is that, you know, when I first day in the dojo, I said to Sensei David, I said, look, I may not be your best student, but I will definitely be one who always shows up with spirit. And I think that's missing in Budo. I think it's certainly missing in Aikido, people who show up with that spirit. They're goofing off, they're smiling, they're adjusting their gis, you know, instead of understanding that this is combat. This is life, you know, and it's about working on yourself at that level. But that drop in focus is the same way they do it throughout the rest of their life. Whenever they get confronted or things are challenging, they lose focus. And so for me, Aikido is I'm not a teacher there. I got nothing to teach. I get to be a pure student. Nobody cares who I am. And Aikido itself tells me the truth about myself and the way I show up. And here is, I'm going on my 12th year with Sensei David, and or maybe it's my 13th year, 12th year maybe.
Let me just to finish up. Let me play the devil's advocate, right? So people come in, you want them to focus, take it seriously, etc., etc. What happens to the people who just want to come in and do it as a hobby, who just want to come in and maybe do it as a bit of exercise and have a laugh?
Well, God bless them. I mean, awesome. I don't know if you'll ever get great at it. I don't know if you'll really ever understand it at that level. But I've seen a lot of those people come and go, Sensei, and you've probably seen 1,000 times more of those people come and go. You know, and then, you know, but like anything else, it narrows down to those people who, you know, there it is again. There's the pure ones who keep showing up. You know, we have more knee braces in the dojo than you can count, you know, and I mean, even some younger people, not just from Aikido, but in life, busted themselves up, but we keep showing up. Phil and I, who we got our black belts together, he's 3 years older than I am. He was 60 years old when he got his black belt. I was 57. Now I'm 60 years old and he's 63, and we still train, you know, and give it everything we got. And I may not be the most flexible guy and the most fluid guy, but I keep showing up and giving it everything I got, because Sensei, this may be the last class I get to attend, so I might as well make it my best one. And that's my attitude.
Brilliant. I like the way you finished it. Oh, excellent. Yeah. Well, Kurek, thank you very much. It's been an enjoyable interview. And we'll leave it at that. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Sorry it was so late in coming. Just been busy. People, we're coming up with another episode of the Pioneer series. We're going to, or I am going to have a chat, interview, whatever you want to call it. Darren Friend Sensei, John Marshall Sensei, and Takashima Saburo Sensei on the life of Inoue Sensei and his contribution to Yoshinkan Aikido. So stay tuned for that. Great. Once again, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.